What's up, Tanner J-Man Show Nation? This is Tanner Lee, one half of the Tanner J-Man Show, and on behalf of myself and my co-host Josh the J-Man Munt, we appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you're a new listener to our podcast, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts at. If that happens to be on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review, as that helps us out a bunch. Watch our podcast live every Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on the ISC Sports Network. And make sure to give us a like on Facebook and a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy some hot takes, topics, picks, and more on a brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show. I'm back. 2 weeks off. Let's see if I still remember how to do this. I am back. I'm a year older now, 30 years old. Definitely feeling like I'm 30 years old, but normally Josh the J-Man Mutt would be on the screen with me, but he's a little under the weather right now. So thoughts out to J-Man. Hope he gets feeling better. So actually a rare in-studio show going on. My old man Eric Lee is joining me tonight to my right.
Hello.
Hi, Pop.
How's it going?
Good. Thank you for filling in on kind of a late notice.
No problem.
Got your T-shirt on that you won in the Tan and J-Man Show College Bowl Confident Point Pick'em.
So you're saying I was the best of all the participants?
Yes, you were.
You remember what Sean Shriver was?
I don't. I could probably look it up.
But he was well below my total.
He was below your total.
Gotcha.
You made it come from behind because you were one of few that picked Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Beat Alabama.
Thought it was obvious. But
and that was how you got the W. But we'll see if we do it again next year. We'll see if you can defend your title. But
absolutely
glad you are wearing the Tan and J-Man Show T-shirt that you picked out from the Tan and J-Man Show store.com, where you can go and get yourself a T-shirt like Dad has on, a hoodie like I have on, a coffee mug that's displayed here at the table, or plenty of other things. So the Tan and J-Man Show store.com.
I just wish it said champion on the bottom.
Well, don't get too big of a head there.
Okay.
I can't customize it for you like that.
Gotcha.
But all right, I got some trivia for you today.
All right.
Let's see. Let me get the banner up there. It's an NBA one. I think you got a pretty good shot to get this right, but we'll see.
All right.
LeBron James.
Heard of him?
LeBron James, Chris Broussard calls him, had his 500th career 30-point game. It's the third most in NBA history behind what two players?
Okay. But you don't want me to answer till the
end. No, wait till the end.
Okay.
You look like you're pretty confident that you know it, but we'll have you wait till the end. And the Birdie or Bogey question is brought to you by, like it is every week, Noble Gnome LLC, for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. And speaking of Bryce and Katie Romine, I want to give them a congratulations and good luck as they opened their new restaurant today, Dreddy's Place in Rochester, Indiana.
Yeah,
so
good.
I'm sure they'll be using some of that produce from Noble Gnome LLC.
Probably the smart thing to do. So if you get a salad from Dreddy's or a sandwich that has some veggies on it, most likely it's coming from Noble Gnome. So eat at Dreddy's and get your veggies. Per Josh.
Yeah, per Josh. I can't do it like Josh does, but I try.
No one can.
I don't have the cadence. I don't have the energy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no one can.
But we got a lot to talk about tonight. What do you want to start off with?
You name it. I'm your guest.
MLB, golf, or college hoops?
Well, I don't know a great deal about the MLB lockout, but we could start with that.
Yeah, we can start about it because I don't know a great deal about it either. I just know it's not looking good right now.
No.
For the season to go a full what? It's 161 games?
162 games.
162 games?
Yeah, have been that way since 1960, I believe. But, yeah, very poor timing for baseball. They need this whole season to go off. And, it's who you for, the super duper rich or just the rich?
Well, I think the players aren't as greedy as the owners are being.
Well, it doesn't appear to be. And, of course, the
the commissioner works for the owners.
Yes.
And I'm not sure about all the stalemates. Actually, a lot of the information I get is off of Twitter reading Josh Munt.
Same way.
But I noticed he tweeted out a couple things today, but looking very pessimistic about the season being 162 games. Today was kind of the drop dead date, wasn't it, when they decided? But
yes.
I guess the day still got, 5.5 hours to go.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure they're meeting.
Yeah. All these little towns that support spring training sites are not up and running right now.
Right.
The towns in Arizona and Florida that kind of depend on revenue coming in from these tourists that come in, follow their teams. It's just too bad.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm a baseball fan that, honestly, you were kind of saying it's bad for the sport overall and the fans. I'm one of those fans that's starting to lose interest every year in baseball, to be honest.
Me too. 2 years ago, they only played the 60 games because of the COVID season. But it was nice to see them out playing. It wasn't the same without anybody in the stands. It was probably even more awkward to watch baseball than it was basketball.
Yeah, I agree.
But
in football.
Yeah, but they need to get rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those fans. I enjoy the playoffs. I mean, luckily, I'm a Yankees fan. They make the playoffs a lot. They don't do much after they make the playoffs, and so 9. But especially for how much they pay out there with their payroll. But besides the playoffs, I can't tell. I might have watched one regular season game last year. It's hard for me to sit down and watch a 9-inning baseball game because it takes so long.
Well, one of the beauties of baseball is you always compare what's going on today with what's happened in the past, and you need 162 games to do that. So if their season gets cut to 120 and a guy has 14 home runs in the first 25 games, you think, hey, this guy's on pace to break the all-time record or whatever. Well, that's not going to be the case. It's
right.
It's a shame, but let's just hope somehow, some way, baseball. The ball's getting thrown there on, what is it, March 31st, I think?
Sounds right.
So we're 1 month away.
Or at least if it's not March 31st, it's sometime soon after that, because I know this podcast kind of relies on baseball in the spring as Josh's favorite sport, and he kind of carries the show until football begins. And if not, it's going to be a lot of golf talk and a lot of just random things. But we got through the pandemic in 2020 without taking a week off, so we'll figure it out. But it's much more enjoyable when baseball's going on that we have to talk about.
Other than that, you're going to be talking the Tour de France and French Open.
Except I would like a video of Josh and myself, for that matter, of doing something with bicycles.
Yeah, I think the whole country wants to see that.
Yeah, I threw myself in there because I don't think I can do it.
Well, I'm pretty sure you can't, being your father.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Always a good vote of confidence from you.
Yeah.
But any other thoughts about the baseball holdout talks?
No.
Yeah.
I wish I was a little more.
I haven't studied up enough.
It's one of those things that it's so irritating I don't even follow it. I just let either my friend Sean or Josh, I get some text from either read a text or a tweet or something.
A middle finger emoji tweet from Josh at the MLB. or if you follow Barstool, Frank the Tank going off on Rob Manfred. So Frank the Tank today was all mad about, and this is MLB related. MLB's in early negotiations with the Peacock Network, NBC, to start putting games on there.
Okay.
And Frank was doing his imitation of their glitchy service, doing a picture, and then he freezes. It's pretty funny. So go on Twitter and check it out. It is pretty good stuff. But I think Frank and Josh would get along because they're big diehard baseball fans. They're both Dolphin fans.
Yeah.
They're both happy when they're miserable towards their sports teams.
They're two of the only few Dolphins fans in the whole country.
Yes. Except I think Josh is more excited about the Dolphins head coach hire than Frank Fleming.
Okay.
He's still mad they fired Brian Flores. So.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. But
who is the Dolphins coach?
Mike
the guy
McDaniel, that's his name, from
the
San Fran.
49ers,
Yeah, which I thought was a good hire. I think it is a good hire.
Yeah.
So, all right, you want to get educated real quick? Before we
give me your best shot.
Yeah, we'll learn what's happened on this day throughout sports history. So that's sporting events on February 28th. Let's see here. On this day in 1940, the first televised basketball game happened. The University of Pitts, I'm guessing that's Pittsburgh, beat Fordham University 50-37.
Wasn't that one of the years Indiana ended up winning the title?
1940 was.
Yeah, actually, Purdue had got the invitation, turned it down because Indiana had beaten them twice during the year, even though Purdue won the Big Ten title, and then Indiana won it. Maybe we should have done that so we wouldn't have the 5 dusty banners.
Yeah, it would be 4.
It would be 4.
And 3 of them because of Bob Knight.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think it's more Bob Knight for the history of that program than anything else. I mean, I've thought that for a while, but
obviously they had one in the early 50s too. But overall, sure it is.
On this day, 1959, there was an NFL trade that happened. The Chicago Cardinals traded Ollie Matson to the Los Angeles Rams for 9 players.
Yeah.
Ollie must have been pretty good.
They when Herschel Walker got traded years later for about the same amount, that came up quite a bit. But yeah, Ollie was a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. On this day in 1967, Wilt Chamberlain sunk his NBA record 35th consecutive field goal.
That's pretty good. That's one of those records I don't see being broke.
No.
And if it is, it's not by a shooter. It has to be someone who's a big man that's only 3 feet from the hole.
Right. You probably know this, but on this day in 1971, who won the PGA Championship? It was at PGA National East.
71?
Mm-hmm.
I think Dave Stockton won it in 70. Probably Jack.
It was Jack Nicklaus. He led wire to wire for his second career Grand Slam and won by 2 strokes over Billy Casper.
Okay.
Jack was pretty good.
So they held the PGA back in February in 71.
71.
That's crazy.
Was it something? No, it would have been because of the Olympics or anything. I don't know why. That's weird.
Yeah, maybe just so they could get a Florida event.
Yeah. On this day in 1991, Don Mattingly, Evansville's own, it was named the 10th New York Yankee captain.
All right. One of my favorite baseball players.
On this day, 1998, Vancouver Canucks Mark Messier was the 4th NHLer to get 1,600 points. I didn't know he played for Canucks. I just remember him as a Ranger and an Oiler and a Ranger. I didn't know he played for the Canucks.
No, I didn't either.
That was definitely towards the end of his career. So,
yeah.
On this day in 2010, the Winter Olympic Games closed in Vancouver, Canada. I'll say Connecticut, Vancouver, Canada. I don't remember anything about those Olympics. I do remember Sidney Crosby made the game-winning goal in overtime to beat the U.S. in the gold medal game.
You don't remember who won the 500-meter speed skating?
Nope.
I'm a little disappointed. Maybe you need to bone up on your skills.
On this day in 2012, the 54th Daytona 500 was ran. It was rain-affected. It was a rain-affected race that stopped for 2 hours because of fuel on the track also. Matt Kenseth led for the final 34 laps to win.
All right.
That's a name I haven't thought of in a while.
Glad you didn't ask who won.
I was going to, but I saved you the embarrassment because I know you don't follow NASCAR very closely. So, but the On This Day segment is brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts, brand new sponsor of the show. It's been for about 3 weeks now, but I know Josh did not have a read for them the last 2 weeks, but I do have a read for them now. Let me pull it up here on my phone.
This is one of his displays, right?
Yeah, hold that up so everybody can see it. Yeah, you can take it off, hold up to the camera. That's one of his displays, the Tan and J-Man show. He's also done a Purdue one for me, a Boiler Breakdown one for me, a Denver Bronco one. He's just got his Facebook and Instagram pages up so you can go and see all his work. He's very talented. And if you're wondering what Mooney Woodcrafts is, Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated custom woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. Provides 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, from signs to growth charts. Our custom plates make a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. To see some of our recently completed projects, visit at Mooney Woodcrafts on Instagram. For orders, contact us at mooneywoodcrafts@gmail.com.
And if our local pizza restaurant, one of them, Nubiano's, has a golf ball somewhere in their building, it could have came from Thad Mooney back in about 2008 or 9.
Yeah, that would have been 2009.
A little bit right.
Thad, to this day, I will say, is the best 3-iron player I've ever seen in my life. And he can hammer the golf ball. But just in high school, you never knew where it was going to go off the tee. And he hit one on hole 9 at the Round Barn Golf Club at Mill Creek that, I swear to God, hit Nubiano's pizza. That thing was 300 yards right. So, yeah, it's a shot that's definitely in my legendary vocabulary. So.
Oh, good.
And he had a good one at Dykeman, too, at Dykeman Park. You know, usually we would play there, and then we played a little more after our round the night before the sectional. We cheered Mooney on to try to slice one as much as he could. And he got a hold of one on the back nine pretty good.
Put it to the right a little bit.
Yeah, put it to the right. Yeah. So, and he was watching this episode earlier. He said Papa Lee in the house. So
Hey, Thad.
Yeah, we usually text a lot during Purdue games. So we appreciate Mooney Woodcrafts hopping on board and being the new On This Day sponsor. Well, let's talk some golf.
Okay.
Haven't talked golf on the podcast for a little bit. The Honda Classic was over the weekend, one of the tougher courses.
Oh, my gosh. 280-some golf balls in the water, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of golf balls.
Yeah, just think of your normal player for 4 days.
Yeah. I would like to try to play the 3-hole stretch called the Bear Trap just to see how bad I would do.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know. I don't think it'd be super.
No. But Daniel Berger was victorious.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't?
He got caught big time. Guy named Strep Saka.
Never mind. I thought it was over, so I stopped watching.
First Austrian. Berger had a 5-stroke lead going into the round yesterday, and he had lost all 5 strokes for the first 6 holes. He had a double bogey and 2 bogeys, and Shane Lowry birdied 2 holes to catch him. Then Strep Straka caught it at the end and won. It just started pouring when Lowry and Berger got to the 18th hole, full out rain. And
well, I heard that Shane Lowry is complaining about the weather conditions, and on a podcast I was listening to today, our friend Chris Smith and his caddy have a new podcast out. Another Bad Yardage is called, and they released an episode today, and he was saying it's kind of ironic. Shane Lowry's complaining about the weather in the tournament, yet he won the British Open
in one of the worst conditions of all time.
So they kind of laughed about that. But I also want to say before I forget here, Thad commented the greatest slice in the history not to be televised.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so interesting tournament there. A lot of big names were down there. A lot of big names will be playing this week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Yeah. One of the bigger tournaments on tour. One of the bigger non-majors, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say it's in the top 5 or 6.
And Chris also shared a good story about playing in that one year. And Arnold Palmer came in and asked Chris how the week was going. Chris said, great, Mr. Palmer. Thank you for having me. I've been playing good. This week's been great. And he goes, that's great, Chris. Take your hat off next time you enter the building. So Chris said he either threw his hat on the ground or might have threw it in the trash. Yeah. After that, he was so humiliated.
Yeah. I guess if Arnold Palmer said something, you would listen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but he said he's as nice a guy you could have ever met, and he literally signed every piece of memorabilia fans sent him, and he signed it every time to make sure you could read his signature.
Absolutely.
So it was he had high praise for Arnold Palmer, but so a big field, like I said, but no Bryson DeChambeau. No. Bryson announced today he was pulling out of the tournament with a hand bruise.
Okay. Yeah, so he had one of the memorable shots of the year last year when he drove it over the pond. I don't know what the carry was, 370 yards or something ridiculous, and raised up his arms as soon as he hit it and turned this massive par 5 into a drive and a chip.
Right.
So,
but I think the golf needs him. I mean, they need him back to get healthy because he brings eyeballs. You love him or hate him. He's entertaining to watch because of the way he plays the game.
Well, none of the top 10 or 12 guys have really kicked it into gear yet.
No, and the season's almost 40% over, believe it or not.
I know, because they play so much in the fall.
Right.
So,
which I don't really like that. But.
No. But, those towns need money too. So they bring in, you play an event, people come watch. So,
any picks this week for you?
Is Koepka playing?
I assume he is. I know Jordan Spieth is not.
Yeah, I know Koepka got 3rd in Phoenix.
I was kind of thinking Koepka myself.
16th this week. Of course, he never wins unless it's a major. So we'll see.
My guy Ricky's in on a sponsor exemption.
Yeah, he made the cut.
He did make the cut this past week.
Played better in the back or in the last round anyway.
And the players, I see he's an alternate right now for the players because he needed to finish top 6, I believe, this past week to get in the field. So if he doesn't do anything this week, he's going to be alternate in the players and have to hope somebody drops out.
We get Phil's spot.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought him up because I wanted to talk about Phil Mickelson. You're a big Phil Mickelson fan, but outside of Purdue sports, is it safe to say Phil's your favorite thing sports related or
he
right
been,
there?
And I'm pretty confused about what's going on. Obviously, he was kind of
he made some comments towards the Saudi League and towards the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
and a lot of his sponsors didn't really agree with
almost all of the sponsors
what he said, and I mean he's lost
Amstel Light,
Workday, KPMG, or
Callaway.
Callaway put him on hold
for
now, but that's probably not good. That they put him on hold. That's probably not going to end well. I don't know.
He said he's taking some time off to reflect, but in reality, he got suspended.
Do you think he'll be able to play in the Masters?
Well, the Masters isn't a typical PGA event.
I know.
So I don't know. He's still so popular with so.
And when he's out there, he's got to be smiling, doing the thumbs up, shaking hands, try to do whatever he can to get back in front of everything. But it's interesting because a lot of fans love Phil. A lot of the players like Phil, but there are players that don't like him. And said now the public's finding out what we've known all along because he's known in some circles as a pretty greedy guy.
Well, he probably is, but in this case, I think he was also trying to help some of the other players. I mean, he doesn't need the money for.
No, he doesn't.
The guy probably makes $100
I think he was trying to make the PGA Tour make some changes.
Yeah.
But this wasn't the way to go about it.
Well, it sounds like it wasn't.
I mean,
so yeah. And there were others, Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter.
They were considering playing in the league.
Yeah.
I think Phil kind of considered it. But the interesting thing is after he said this, you've seen so many players come out and no, we're not playing. We're committed to the PGA. And then there's been some players like Ricky never came out and flat out said that and like he wouldn't play in it, but he said kind of as of now, he's on the PGA Tour.
Jason Kokrak said he would play. His goal is to be retired when he's 44, and this was a way to like a lot more money. And the Saudi League was another interesting part of it. They were going to play 15 tour events around the world, 54-hole events rather than 72, and a shotgun start. So instead, everybody when they get to the golf course, you have 4 hours and you're done. By shotgun start, some people start on 13, 12, 14, play their way around. Be tough to televise.
Yes.
You have no idea who's doing well.
Right.
But, what was interesting, though, is so many of the courses they were going to play in the United States are Donald Trump courses.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And Phil's had so many controversies over his career.
He has.
The putt he had a few years ago when he stopped the ball rolling and just putted it.
At the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and then there was the Dean Foods. You remember he was involved with insider trading?
Yeah, that's right.
Phil's always stepped in it a little bit. Let's put it that way. But he's always come across as the next Arnold Palmer as far as being great with the fans and playing the kind of golf everybody wants to play. Just go for broke. But, this could be the only way this wouldn't be a damage is if somebody like Tiger Woods said, okay, Tiger's everybody's guy.
Yeah.
And Phil's not.
You know,
I was a little disappointed in a few of the younger guys like Rory and stuff I'm not sure they needed to
Rory's
step on
pretty outspoken himself.
I'm not sure they had to step on Phil like they did, but that might be just because I've always been a Phil fan.
We don't know what their relationships are behind closed doors either.
Right.
I mean, we only see what we see. And do you think Phil hurt himself towards possibly being a Ryder Cup captain down the future, which
absolutely.
Zach Johnson was officially named the 2023 Ryder Cup captain? Because I think it looked like Phil and Tiger were the next two they kind of won in 2025 and 2027. And
they wanted Phil
I don't know about that now.
At Bethpage in 2025 because New York fans love him.
And maybe he'll still will, but
I don't think the actual fans will matter. It's more inside the ropes than outside the ropes, probably. We've seen athletes do some pretty bad things.
We have.
I mean, you think of the starting wide receiver for the Chiefs or the starting running back for the Bengals.
Yes.
Much more hideous things done. But Ray Lewis, was involved in at least a cover-up of a murder.
Yeah.
And the next year he's a Super Bowl MVP.
No, you're bringing up a good point. So
so we'll see.
Yeah, we will. But I do have a word association list here that is related to the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
All right.
And it is like the last, I don't know how many, I have 15 winners of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And there's quite a few years I had to skip because Tiger won it so many darn times.
Tiger won it 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, so.
Ridiculous.
Well, starting with last year's champion, Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, he's one of your favorites. He's one of my least favorites.
Yep. I don't know too many people that like him, and I'm one of them.
He's interesting. He plays with the long clubs everywhere, or the same length clubs.
The one length clubs and the flat grip putter.
Yeah, he's a scientist.
Yeah.
That'd be my one word.
That's why I like him. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of things he says or always his pouty attitude, but I like that he's always trying to find the advantage for his game, and he works pretty hard at it too.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's a pain to work with, though.
Absolutely.
Terrell Hatton.
He's got a hothead.
Yeah.
But he's got game. He's from Europe.
Yep.
He's probably one of the 20, 25 best players in the world.
Yep. Francisco Molinari.
He's a past British Open champion, was actually leading the Masters until he hit a horrible tee shot on 12, and that led to Tiger winning a few years
2019.
ago. But and then was a Ryder Cup hero. He's kind of like a 2-year flash in the pan, but he was as good as there was in the world there for a couple of years.
A lot better than his brother.
Yeah, Eduardo.
Yep. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, well, he looked like he was going to be legendary, and he's slowed down.
Hadn't won a major since 2014.
Right.
I mean, he still has had a heck of a career. What, 5 major champions?
4.
4? I thought he won
2 PGAs, a U.S. and a British.
Oh, okay.
He
4.
famously was leading the Masters one year and shot 43 on the back.
He shot an 80. That was back in 2011, I believe, when Charles Schwartzel won.
He's been a great player, but
I just feel like he's leaving some meat on the bone.
Yeah, kind of like a Darryl Strawberry or something. You know, you just see so much more in there.
Your dad saw him at 3 home runs live.
He did. Yes.
Mark Leishman.
Very underrated, consistent.
He's always going to be in a major hunt.
You don't see a lot of Americans so far.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so he's been in contention for the British Open and the Masters.
Always contention the Masters.
Yeah, he'll get one someday, I think.
Jason Day.
Yeah, he lives in Columbus, Ohio now, but he's Australian.
Mm-hmm.
He was number 1 in the world and looked like the best player, and he's really slowed down. He's fought back troubles.
Won a PGA championship, but he started having a good season already this year. So
yeah, it looks like it's coming back.
Yep. Matt Every.
Yeah, Matt Every. My one word would be, what's he doing on that list?
Yeah, he is the one name on here. It's kind of one of the names is kind of an eyebrow raiser.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he was all right.
Greatest of all time or no? Do you still get that to Jack?
I think he's the greatest golfer ever, but Jack's the most accomplished golfer.
Fair.
Ever.
Martin Laird.
He's another one that probably doesn't belong on that list. He's been a steady Eddie over the years, but he's probably not got more than 3 or 4 wins in his career.
Ernie Els.
Yeah, he was a great one.
Yeah.
But
Hall
here
of Famer.
again, we don't have many Americans other than Tiger.
No. Vijay Singh.
Yeah, he was a grinder. 3-time major champion.
He was the one person that when Tiger was really rolling that kind of went toe-to-toe with Tiger for a while.
Yeah, Phil didn't early on, but he did later. But Vijay, 3-time. I think he won 34 events.
Yep. He's doing well on the senior tour.
Oh, yeah.
So is Ernie.
He still hits it a mile.
Rod Pampling.
Yeah, he's Australian.
This is Australian course.
Yeah, I think it must be. But he probably only won 3 or 4 times. He's actually kind of a force on the senior tour. Top 10er, anyway.
Got 2 more guys here. Kenny Perry.
Oh, Franklin, Kentucky.
Yeah. Talk about the Masters getting away from him. Remember that year he lost in the playoff to Angel Cabrera?
Yeah.
He choked that thing away.
The one year he won, it was on the Ryder Cup, was in Kentucky, and he was kind of the home state hero and brought it home. But I always liked Kenny Perry. Big hooker of the ball.
Last one, Chad Campbell.
Underachiever. It looked like he was going to be a superstar, and it never really materialized. Won 3 or 4 times early in his career, and it's just stopped.
Yep. So
his nickname was Soup.
Oh, really?
Campbell Soup.
Good one.
Yeah.
And the word association segment is brought to you by Rhett Lee Attorney at Law. Rhett Lee and the law office of Andrew Akey, LLC, are located at 206 4th Street in Logansport, Indiana. Rhett provides legal services to the people of North Central Indiana and practices criminal defense, family law, and personal injury. If you need a lawyer who cares about your results and will fight for you, give Rhett a call today to schedule your free consultation at 574-722-2221. All right. A lot of college hoops action going on over the weekend. A lot of top 10 teams knocked off over the weekend.
Yeah, just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
Yep.
And earlier in the week, number 8 lost.
Yeah.
So number
never
10,
seen anything like it.
So number 10 Baylor climbed clear up to number 3 this week, and number 7 Duke climbed clear up to number 4.
Yep.
For both winning games. Of course, Baylor beat Kansas, which was one of the top 10 teams.
Yep.
But the biggest blowout was Arizona losing by 16, and then they remained number 2.
Remained number 2. Colorado is probably the worst team that any of those teams lost to. That's why polls just don't mean nothing.
They mean nothing, but you don't know how it impacts your number 1 and 2 seeds coming here in a few weeks. But Just shows you college basketball is up for grabs.
You got to bring it every night.
Yeah. Illinois beat that St. Mary's team that I believe they did anyway.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Josh will let us know if I'm wrong. But
yeah, he will.
I think they did earlier in the year.
It's, you got to bring it every night. I mean, I know these two teams aren't going to make the NCAA tournament, but look, last night, Nebraska goes to Penn State and just takes it to the woodshed.
A Penn State team, they're all saying, was playing one of the better brands of basketball in the Big Ten. So.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be focused every night.
Well, yeah, no, there's so much to win on the road. You obviously got to fight the crowd. You got to fight the travel.
Got to fight the officiating a little bit, probably.
The officiating, absolutely.
Usually, if it's a closely officiated game, the home team's got to get
particularly in the second half. And then you also see it in these games when these teams have big leads, and all of a sudden the officials quit.
Yep.
They kind of swallow their whistle for the team that's way ahead. Heck, even last night, Indiana was up 27 with 8 minutes and 10 seconds to go, and it was a 3-point game with less than 6.
At Minnesota, right?
Yeah. So you never know.
No, it's it's conference play. All these teams know each other very well. The coaches who have been around the conferences for a while know each other really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why some teams, I think, are just ready to get to the NCAA tournament to play teams outside their conference.
Right. And I think the big thing is making sure you do enough to get into the tournament. You get into the dance, you've done something right during the year, and now let's go.
You got a shot.
For the exception of about 15 or 20 programs that expect to be in it every year. The other 45 are fighting for it,
When we got an exciting final week in the Big Ten and a lot of the other major conferences, but also the smaller conferences, this is their conference championship week.
Yeah, it starts sometime this week. Now, Myron Metcalf, or the ESPN had an interesting thing today. I don't know if you saw it. They picked there's 4 writers, one of them Myron Metcalf. They picked the winners of each of the 32 tournaments. 31 of them, they had multiple winners picked. I'm sorry, like Gonzaga was unanimous.
The West Coast Conference.
The only tournament of the 32 that they had 4 different winners was the Big Ten.
I believe it.
And it was one picked Purdue, one picked Illinois, one picked Iowa, and one picked Wisconsin.
No, I was playing good basketball right now.
They're playing a weaker end of their schedule right now.
I thought you were going to say somebody like Michigan State.
I don't see it. Even though I think Wisconsin more than likely win the Big Ten this year, I don't see them winning the Big Ten tournament. We'll see. It's hard to do both.
It is.
It is. So Wisconsin's just, very consistent. Wisconsin reminds me of some good old Purdue teams from 20 years ago where they didn't really, except they have a star. But the rest of their team is just very average. They don't shoot that well. They're 14-1 in games decided by 2 possessions.
That's what they've done my majority of my lifetime. They find ways to win close games better than anybody in the Big Ten.
Well, and I picked 3 other Big Ten schools here just to see how they're doing in games decided by 6 or less. Purdue's 4-4, Illinois 4-3, Indiana's 4-4. And they lost an overtime game. And Purdue actually won 2 overtime games that ended up more than double scoring.
Mm-hmm.
But that just shows you it's 50-50 for these other schools. For Wisconsin, it's 14-1.
Yeah, that's why they're
where they're at. And some of them are against crappy teams. I mean, he beat Minnesota 51-49, right. But sometimes it's against really good teams.
Yep.
So
I mean, one good win that Wisconsin had non-conference. They beat a Houston team when they were at full strength. Nobody else can really do that because Houston hasn't been at full strength this year.
Right. Houston doesn't even have what they call a quad 1 win, but in the college net rankings, they're up to number 4 in the country.
Right. So, but the Big Ten, I mean, it is crazy going into the final week. I mean, we got 3 teams tied at the top.
No.
Just 2?
Just Wisconsin.
Just Wisconsin, that's right. But Purdue's got a chance to get tied with them tomorrow night at 9 o'clock up at Madison.
Yeah, Josh's going to have to root for the Boilers tomorrow night.
Yep.
For Illinois to have any chance. Because Wisconsin finishes up home against Nebraska.
Yeah, you wouldn't think Nebraska's got a prayer in that one.
So here's something I kind of did. I looked at how the Big Ten's doing against the top 9 teams. Because there seems to be 9 good teams and 5 not so good.
Yeah.
Wisconsin's 8-4 against the good teams. Got 1 more left. Purdue's 7-5 with 2 more. Illinois is 8-4 with another one. The only other team that's done well against the Big 9, Rutgers is 7-4 against the top 9 teams. They're 3-4 against the bottom teams.
Well, they're a totally different team at home than they are on the road, and they had that stretch 2 to 3 weeks ago where they knocked off 4 or 5 ranked teams.
Yeah. Now Indiana's 2-7 against the top 9. They're 7-2 against the bottom 5. So Purdue and Michigan ended up playing 14 of their 20 games against the top 9. Illinois and Wisconsin 13. And then the other teams, Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan State, Indiana, all played just 11. So they got the benefit of playing the bottom 5
feeders.
9 times.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Big Ten East or the West versus the East. The East is usually stronger.
In football, yes.
Yeah. And then in this year, it just kind of happened to be, although Wisconsin, Purdue, and Illinois are 1, 2, 3 right now, they've actually played the most games and will play the most games against the top 9. And what's hard about that is they're all in the top 9.
Right.
So they just didn't have a lot of games against the Nebraskas, the Marylands, the Minnesotas.
Sometimes that's just how the schedule comes out.
And Maryland was supposed to be really good this year. Notice that they've had 3.
They were on Sunday.
Yeah. And they about beat Purdue a couple Sundays. Notice all the Sunday afternoon games they're getting on CBS because they were picked preseason top 20.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Mark Turgeon was the coach star of the year in a month, and he quits. So we're a mutual separation, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, but the Big Ten tonight, I think Iowa plays
Northwestern at Iowa because it's finally Bohannon's senior night.
Oh my gosh!
After about a decade,
it's been a huge impact on the Big Ten race this year. The 2 Illinois starting guards should not have been there. Brad Davison should not have been there. Bohannon. They've all benefited from getting this quote unquote COVID year that didn't count. So some teams will benefit in the future. I can see IU benefiting huge next year because Race Thompson probably will stay around. It'll be his 5th year. Probably Rob Finney stays around, be his 5th year. This year it was Illinois and Wisconsin that benefited the most.
Yeah.
If you're a kid that's not going to play professional basketball, especially with this new NIL rule, you can make some money, stay in college, and you don't have to work.
Sure. I mean, that's why Josh has said it multiple times on the podcast. Kofi Coburn, he thinks probably making somewhere around $750,000. Kofi's, if he makes it, he's probably not going to last very long just because of the way he plays. I wouldn't be shocked if he returns to Illinois for another year next year.
He might. There's going to be a lot of guys that have to make some decisions.
Right.
Would you rather make $750 at the University of Illinois or
and it's interesting what schools
in Russia
push their guys to use this and what schools maybe don't so much. I think, Purdue, I know Sasha Stevanovic has some companies he works with. So is Mason Gillis. Brandon Newman's got a clothing line. And Sasha, Eric Hunter, and Trayvon Williams have shirts from the shop. But Jaden Ivey's not doing anything.
Yeah.
He's one of the top players in the nation.
Yeah. He's
I mean, he probably doesn't need the money. I mean, his mom makes a decent amount. Right. He's going to be making a lot here soon, but that doesn't stop the other players that are going to be NBA lottery picks from taking advantage of it.
No, I would say if you're not going to be one of the first 30 or 35 picked and you have the option,
right?
If you're going to get some cash from your college to play basketball, the whole college landscape has changed.
NIL, transfer rules.
Yeah. So many teams will start 3 or 4 transfers. I mean, Indiana does. Fats Russell from Maryland. So many teams. Ohio State's got a couple. They're just so impactful.
Well, that's
this kid from Illinois, Plummer.
Yeah.
I think he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read today Luka Doncic turned 23 and he's in his 4th year in the NBA. What the heck?
Yep.
But it's kind of getting like BYU out there. Everybody's getting older.
Well, Fred Hoiberg, who's struggling at Nebraska, even though their AD said he's coming back next year, when he was at Iowa State before he went to the NBA, he made a living off getting the JUCO transfers. Yeah. But now that everybody can transfer and not sit out, he can't take advantage of that like he used to be able to.
Yeah, you can't pick who's going to be good next year.
No.
Because everybody, and the rich are going to get richer. If certain teams need a player, they're going to go out and look around the college. You probably could even call Purdue and say, hey, Brandon Newman, I'd like you to come play with me. Yeah, I already played this year.
Right. Well, football's even worse.
Yeah.
When it comes to transfers, I mean.
And Purdue's they're going to gain stuff in football because their quarterback's coming back for 6th year, basically.
Right. So.
But basketball, it did not help them one bit.
Well, the COVID year stuff will be done in about 2 years. Finally, then that extra year will be done, and we'll get back to
some schools still list their players in their actual academic year.
Right.
I noticed Indiana puts them all as if
they
still list Trace Jackson as a sophomore, even though he's played 3-4 years. So
right.
It's interesting how you do that, but it also impacts your recruiting. You cannot get kids to come in if you're going to keep all your old ones.
Correct.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will. It wasn't a fun weekend to be a Boiler fan, or week I should say, because they had the week off. They rested and then dropped the tough one up at East Lansing, 68-65 on Saturday. And
they did.
It was a game. I know I told you I'm not feeling good about this game before it tipped off. And my girlfriend blames me for saying that out loud. That's why Purdue lost.
Yeah, well, I kind of blame you too. Well, you never know on especially like a noon Saturday game. Anything seems to happen. But Michigan State's always a tough opponent in their own building. Obviously they lost to Northwestern at home. They've had some head-scratching losses this year. It's not one of his good teams by any means, but they have some good players.
They don't have that centerpiece. They're deep.
They don't
have that centerpiece.
No, and Purdue shot one for what killed them those 17 turnovers. And Jaden Ivey actually had a very what I call game. He scored enough points, but he had 5 turnovers, and so many of Purdue's turnovers were at the free throw line or beyond, and Michigan State just flipped it up and scored a basket. I actually thought Purdue played good defense for a change.
Yeah.
This is the third time they've lost on a three-pointer in the last seconds of a game.
We're close to the last seconds. Indiana, we still
17
got the ball twice.
Yeah.
But in Purdue's losses, they've turned it over a ton.
Yeah. And they weren't all bad passes.
No.
They average probably 3 or 4 offensive fouls a game because Ivy drives so much, and then they call Zach for and I was listening to Painter today. He has no qualms with the officiating other than Zach Edey. He said he probably gets fouled every time he plays.
We've said that about Isaac Haas. We said it about Matt Harms. Not Matt Harms. AJ Hammonds. I mean, that's the bad thing about getting over 7 feet guys.
I don't think it's near as bad as this Zach. He gets fouled every play.
Yeah. And Illinois fans say the same thing about Kofi Coburn.
Yeah. And usually, if you let those two just play against each other, but if you do go this banging like everybody does, when you're strong, guy's going to go flying.
Mm-hmm.
But Shaq, he always says he had to put up with that his whole career too. So, maybe you don't get those guys anymore. They're unstoppable, but they can't play pick and roll.
Purdue's got another one coming in next year.
He's a little more athletic and everything.
But I mean, no, they've opened up their big man them and Gonzaga. Yeah. I mean, take them if you can get them, but they're that's the negative of getting them is some officials don't know how to officiate big guys, and that's what's scary going into the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks. How are the officials going to officiate Zach Edey? I don't know.
And if you draw a good small conference team, all 4th and 5th years guys, and their centers like 6, 7, or 8. Yeah, you can score at will on them, but are they going to call fouls on Edey and them? And then how in the world are you going to guard the outside? It's kind of like playing Ohio State, and all of a sudden EJ Liddell's out there knocking 18-footers down on you all day long.
But I'm sure opponents don't want to put up with Zach Edey then Travion Williams when he goes out. So.
No. And the other thing I think's hurt Purdue over the year, I thought the first 10 games of the year they were 10 deep and they didn't matter who they played. And then Jaden got in such a hot stretch, they kind of started counting on one or two things, either Jaden penetrating or going inside to the big guys, and then hoping he'd kick it out to the Sashas of the world. And Sasha has been a no-show really for the last 3 or 4 games, and that's really a fact. You keep thinking, well, Purdue's playing terrible, but they're 9-2 in the last 11 games, beating 3 ranked teams. So I wouldn't say they're playing terrible, but they definitely have lost a couple games they shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, and they got some players that are just kind of in a funk right now.
Yeah.
I mean, one of their point guards plays Saturday, didn't attempt a single shot.
No, and he's a great shooter.
And that's what he's in there for.
Yeah.
Their starting power forward, 0 points, fouled out. Not all the fouls are probably his fault, but he fouled out, 0 points.
Yeah, the 4th and 5th fouls were just ridiculous calls.
That's the position Purdue's probably the weakest. That's the 4.
Well, Caleb First was so good until he got COVID, and now his role's changed, and I don't think he wants to take that outside shot like he was the first 10 games, and we'll see.
Yep. 2 big ones for Purdue this week. Revenge week. It can be revenge week for Purdue. They're at Wisconsin tomorrow night, who's one of their 5 losses, and Indiana at home on Senior Day. The lone Big Ten game Saturday.
Is that right?
Yeah, all the rest are Sunday.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Both ESPN games for Purdue this week.
Yeah, and Rob Hummel.
I'm guessing Rob Hummel and Jason
Benetti
are going to be on the call, and 4 of Purdue's 5 losses, Robbie Hummel's been on the call.
Yeah.
So arguably the most fan popular Purdue player of all time, and Purdue fans don't want to see him commentating their games. Yeah. But let's go through and pick some games, shall we? Tonight, starting here shortly at 8 p.m., is Northwestern at Iowa. Iowa's a 10.5-point favorite.
I'd pick Iowa by 15.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to think those seniors are going to go out right. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow night, Nebraska at number 22, Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Yeah, I think pretty easily. Mm-hmm. You also got a COVID makeup game, Michigan State at
Michigan. Both need it. Well, actually, Michigan needs it more than Michigan State.
I'll go with Michigan because it's at home, but nothing will shock me in that game. Right. It's almost a coin flip. Purdue at Wisconsin, 9 o'clock tomorrow night.
I think Purdue wins.
I'm agreeing. That's probably my heart talking over my head, but I feel more confident going in this game than I did Saturday for some reason.
They've done well at the Kohl Center. I mean, I think they're going to win.
And when Purdue played them in January, Johnny Davis went for 37, Brad Davidson 15. But Purdue had 3 of their big guys foul out and another one had 4 fouls. If they can replicate that.
No,
Purdue had fouled 3 of Wisconsin's big guys out of the game. That's what I meant to say.
And they shot 14 for 27 from the line.
And so Purdue was off.
If Purdue doesn't get even a part of the Big Ten title, everybody's going to say it's in this last couple games, but in reality, it's the first 3 games. They lost to Rutgers on a half-court shot, and then they let Wisconsin beat them at home.
I will say, if they don't at least get a share of the Big Ten title, the regular season, which doesn't mean as much as the postseason, I know it does kind of feel like a little bit of a failure.
Yeah.
Disappointment, at least.
A disappointment, no question.
Started off too well, and you got too much talent. But they've put themselves in this bind.
I don't think they're as talented as everybody says they are. I think Illinois got more raw talent, but I think they got more raw talent and I think Rutgers does too.
They beat Illinois twice.
But I think Wisconsin is just a team.
Yeah. I
don't think they have a ton of talent. This Wall kid's been playing good for them.
Well, Johnny Davis got to probably be a Big Ten player of the year, and he might be national player of the year.
Yeah, but I'd say they're one of the 3 most talented teams in the Big Ten, but Purdue that is. But I'm not sure everybody, Gillis, Thompson, Hunter, they're not what you call super talented players.
Big one down in Bloomington for both teams Wednesday night. Rutgers at Indiana. Joe Lunardi has both of these teams as 2 of his last 4 in.
Yeah.
As of today.
Well, I wouldn't want to lose that game.
No.
But
I think Indiana gets it done at home.
I do too, but Rutgers is a tough bird.
I think Indiana's
7 wins on the.
I think Indiana's glad this one's at home.
Oh my gosh! You don't want to go to the rack.
Even though Wisconsin went there and won over the weekend.
Yeah, of course the Rutgers went up and won at Wisconsin too.
True.
Yeah, Indiana did not have to go to Rutgers this year.
No.
And they're the only team in this top 9 they haven't beaten.
Yeah. Minnesota at Maryland.
Give me Maryland.
Yep, I'm taking them just because they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State at Illinois Thursday night.
Illinois.
Yep, I think pretty easily. Michigan State at Ohio State. So Michigan State has to go to Michigan Tuesday, then Ohio State on Thursday.
And Ohio State plays 6 games in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Ohio State.
I am too. Iowa at Michigan Thursday.
I'm going Michigan again.
I'm going to take Iowa in this one. Tough week for Michigan State this week.
Michigan's
playing 3
got
games.
And all 3 of theirs are against good teams.
Indiana at Purdue, 2 o'clock Saturday, ESPN.
Oh, my God, I hope Purdue. Indiana's playing better. They had the 5-game losing streak, but they've been competitive.
And this will be Tanner's book of prediction of the week. Purdue will beat Indiana on Saturday.
Well, let's hope.
That's my book at filling in for J-Man.
Okay.
And J-Man's book of prediction of the week is brought to you by, like it is every week, Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watry. For life, home, auto, renters, business, workers' comp, and farm insurance, give Travis a call today at 219-869-4561, or you can email him at travis.watering@infb.com. He does insurance not only in the great state of Indiana, but also over there in Ohio, where his favorite college basketball team, the Ohio State University, is located.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so get to our Sunday slates here. Penn State at Rutgers. Yeah, I think Penn State's just...
They were playing good, and boy, you just got killed by Nebraska at home.
Michigan at Ohio State.
I'm going Ohio State.
I am too.
I'll be shocked if they win all 3 games, but I said they would.
If Ohio State beats Michigan, they sweep them in basketball, but they lost them in football.
Yeah.
Nebraska at Wisconsin.
Wisconsin by 25.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest blowout of the week. Maryland at Michigan State.
Michigan State.
I think so too. Iowa at Illinois. These two teams do not like each other.
No, and Illinois, depending on what happens early in the week, maybe
Illinois is done with road games.
Yeah. I'd say Illinois.
I will too in a close one. It was a close one up at Carver Hawkeye the first time.
Yeah, they do not like each other.
In this game's also at the same time, Iowa, Illinois is, but if this one runs later, this is your final Big Ten regular season game. Minnesota at Northwestern.
The country will be watching.
No, they won't.
I say
maybe the parents.
I say Northwestern.
I will agree. I think Northwestern gets it done. Mm-hmm. Do you think all the Big Ten coaches are back next year? Basketball.
I'm trying to think anybody be on the hot seat.
Would Collins be on the hot seat in Northwestern?
No.
Hoiberg already got the vote of confidence from Nebraska.
Juwan Howard has proven he can do whatever the heck he wants, and he's back.
I think he's lucky he's a coach at Michigan instead of some other university.
It'll be interesting to see if Maryland keeps Danny Manning.
I didn't count him because I don't think so.
But I can't imagine anybody else being in any trouble. Ben Johnson's done a fairly nice job with that Minnesota team.
I expected Minnesota to be the worst team in the conference.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Shrewsbury's done fine at Penn State.
He has.
I don't think anybody will retire.
No.
I don't think anybody will leave for another job.
Actually, if Indiana would lose these two in the first game of the Big Ten and don't make the NCAA, I'm sure there'll be some chirping.
But what would they do? Fire Woods after 1 year and then promote Dane Fife?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They wouldn't fire him. They're not going to fire Mike Woodson, but
no.
Might politely say, hey, why don't you go retire? This isn't your gig.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think their old coach is in trouble down in Georgia.
Oh, my gosh.
Tom Crean, I think he's going to be fired.
Not their old coach down at Houston.
No, he's a shady guy, but he gets wins.
Yeah, Purdue might have ducked something by Sampson's
that's
not being
very
at IU
true.
forever because he's obviously a huge winner.
That's very true. Very true. The other two big Indiana teams, Notre Dame, looks like they're going to be in the tournament. They've really come on the last 2 months.
Yeah, they don't have hardly any quad 1 or 2 wins, but they're
number
28.
They're number 2 in the ACC.
Yeah. Looks like there'll probably be 5 ACC teams coming. What's going to be interesting in these conference tourneys is the bid stealers. I think a few bid stealers could come from the big conferences. There's teams like Virginia who aren't in that could very easily win ACC. A team like West Virginia or something sneaking through the Big 12, which would be
a gauntlet
awfully hard to do.
Yeah.
But even in the it wouldn't happen in the Big 10. I mean, I think the 9 teams, one of those 9 is going to win it. But Oregon, the Pac-12,
won't be Oregon State. I can tell that much.
No. So,
which you remind me, they made the Elite Eight last year. I forgot about that. Now they have 3 wins.
I had one other basketball note here. I was listening on my way over here. You know what the average cost of? You probably can see it down here.
Oh, the Duke, North Carolina. The average was over $3,000.
Well, as of
no, that was the lowest to get in the door was $3,000. So I think the average was over $5,000.
$5,392.
Yeah, I saw that today. That's
for
insane.
Coach K's last game.
It's farewell tour. And that's why Duke. I honestly think that's why Duke is. In the media, always loved Duke, but being Coach K's farewell tour, I think that's why they're getting some of the treatment they are right now.
Duke lost to Ohio State this year.
Mm-hmm. And had them beat.
Did they play Michigan State in that first game? The tournament I will not watch because ESPN tells you that Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, and Michigan State are the 4 most important teams every year.
I think they did, and they smacked them.
Still one of my least favorite subjects.
Yeah.
If they're going to get the 4 best programs, why isn't Gonzaga and Villanova playing in it?
All right.
Not those 4.
And you can make a case for Auburn.
Duke didn't make the tourney last year. Kentucky didn't make the tourney. Michigan State was an 11 seed.
Yeah.
Don't give me that crap.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And then the other big Indiana school, Butler's fans, I don't think they can get the season over quick enough.
No, they've had it rough.
And I think Lavelle Jordan gets 1 more year.
Yeah, what's interesting about the old Crossroads Classic with this last one is Notre Dame is Indiana's 3rd highest ranked win of the year because Notre Dame is 58th.
Mm-hmm.
IU goes from beating Purdue's top 12 or so, and then Ohio State top 20, Notre Dame 58, and their 4th best win is at Maryland, who's 95th.
Yeah.
So if they didn't have that Notre Dame win, they probably
on the outside looking in right now.
They probably got to reconsider staying in that Crossroad Classics, getting a decent non-conference. Of course, Purdue did not get a decent non-conference win because Butler ended up being terrible.
Yeah, losing record right now. And that's another conference I guess we could see a big stealer in a Big East, but don't think it's going to be Georgetown.
No. Patrick would be canned
He's one that needs to leave.
Yeah.
This isn't working out. Kind of like Chris Mullen at St. John's.
Some of these college superstars. Remember Clyde Drexler had come back
Jerry
to Houston.
Stackhouse is doing awful at Vanderbilt. I know he's not a Vanderbilt guy, but he's doing bad.
Hubert Davis doing all right at Carolina.
Yeah.
I see they're 20-8, but they're 1-7 against quad 1 teams.
Then you got like you said, Sampson's and the Rick Pitino, who's doing good at Iona.
Oh my God, you do not want to see Iona on your.
No.
He's going to be about an 11 seed, and some 6 seed's going to have to play them. And by the way, how would you like to be a 6 seed, which means you're a top 25 team, and you see those 11s they have out like Rutgers and Michigan and Indiana.
Yeah.
It'll be a 2-point spread.
Yeah.
At most.
Yeah.
You don't want any part of those guys if you're a 6 seed. You don't want part of those guys if you're a 3 seed.
No.
So.
No, you don't. But it's gonna be a fun final week here. Fun week of conference tournaments for the smaller conferences going on. Watch out for Purdue Fort Wayne this week.
Oh yeah,
in the Horizon. They're the 2 seed. I think they're 14-3 in their last 17 games or something like that. Maybe it's 11-3 in their last 14.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Watch for them. They started the season slow, but they've come on. IEP-wise, they have 5 players. 5.
Yeah.
5. Not healthy. Not act. 5 guys they're taking to the Horizon League tournament. No subs.
Hard to run a practice with 5 guys.
No subs. I mean, my goodness. I mean, weeks ago they were asking for any students on campus who had physicals to come try out. Now they have 5 guys ready to lace them up this week.
Do you have any surprise team or two that you think wouldn't shock you if they got to the Final Four? I don't know how big a surprise, but like in Arkansas.
Well, they were one of my. Oh no, Alabama was one of my preseason 4.
They were one of
they
mine
were one
too.
of my preseason 4, but Arkansas wouldn't shock me. I don't know if it's a surprise, but Houston wouldn't shock me. I know they got there last year.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of these athletic teams. There's some good teams like Providence.
No, they're ranked number 9 right now,
but they're not real athletic.
They won the Big East for the first time ever.
And they grind out
Al Durham. It's all Al Durham.
Little Wisconsin, they grind out tough wins. The teams that always bother me are these super athletic teams that you just can't guard.
A lot of them are in SEC this year.
Big Ten has no athletic teams.
No.
That's why they don't win in March. They don't have – I mean, Jay Nivey and who's this kid from Maryland I just said earlier? The long Fats Russell. It seems like teams have one guy that can just zip.
That's a good point.
Name me a team's got 2 or 3 guys who can zip it.
No. Baylor, Auburn.
I mean, from the Big Ten.
Yeah, no.
No.
UCLA.
Carbello can zip
Arizona.
it a little bit. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun. I mean, March starts tomorrow, and it felt like March arrived over the weekend. It did.
So, let's go. The Birdie Bogey question. It was NBA related. Oh, before I do that, I should mention that this episode is brought to you by the Damn Landing. Let me get the read over here. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, the Damn Landing is the place to be. Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. And they got the Damn Smoke on the weekends, Friday and Saturday. If you like barbecue, I suggest checking that out. It's great barbecue. You can wash any of their food down with one of their 16 beers on tap, including constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking the fantastic views of Lake Manitou on their beer garden or outdoor bar area. It's getting warmer. That would be nice to do. Whether it be by boat or wheels, the Damn Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. All right, now back to the Birdie Bogey question. LeBron James has had his 500th career 30-point game. It's the 3rd most in NBA history behind what 2 players?
All right, I've got it narrowed down to 3, but I'm just going to go with 2. I think it's Wilt and Kareem.
You got one of those right, and Wilt with 515.
Well, I figured Kareem had 20
Not
years.
Kareem.
The other obvious one was Jordan, but I don't think it's Jordan.
Michael Jordan with 562.
Oh, really?
Yeah, easily the most 30-point games in NBA history.
I would have been wrong.
I'll give you a par for getting one because you're my dad, and if it was Josh, I'd give you a bogey.
Absolutely.
So, but, we got about a minute and a half remaining. Anything else you want to talk real quick before we go off the air?
Well, it's in Indiana. Boys high school sectionals start this week.
It's true.
I saw they had an article in the Indianapolis Star today that top 20 high school games in history. I was just curious to see if the Rochester – I couldn't read it because it cost $1.99.
I hate that, but they got to make their money. They got to make their money.
The Rochester-Princeton game.
Yeah, 09.
You just wonder. I've seen some great ones. Scott Skiles hitting a shot to win the state for Plymouth.
And Luke Zeller against Plymouth hitting the half quarter for Washington.
Yeah, those would be two.
Yep.
You had to be there.
Yep.
Because of when and where.
I mean, the Zeller one's probably a top 10 game.
Yeah. Well, Skiles was ridiculous. He hit one from about 35 feet to put it in overtime.
Yeah, kind of like Bruce.
Whereas Zeller, if he missed,
it was over.
It was over. Okay.
I think it was over. Yeah, it was. He hit a half quarter.
Yeah.
To beat Kyle Benge and Sheets and those guys on Plymouth.
Yeah. There's been some great games, and of course, I still go back to the pre-class era, but there's been some great games since then too. So.
There has. So, Hoosier Hysteria. It's March tomorrow, so exciting time.
Did you see where in the state championship girls that South Bend, Washington?
They won like 90-something to 30-something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like Louisville's girls against Notre Dame women yesterday.
Oh, my gosh. It ended up only being 22.
They called the dogs off.
It was like 44-4.
It was at halftime, I think, 42-15.
Oh.
Or 45-15 at half.
Well, yeah, maybe Notre Dame. But I think they were down 40 or something to 4 at one time.
Yeah, they were. So.
Yeah, that's a tough day.
Yeah, not good.
No.
A bad weekend for the Ivy family.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's why they played so bad.
Hopefully this week's
Mom
better.
Was upset the James team got beat.
Hopefully this week's better, but
we'll see.
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening to episode 276 of the Tane and J-Man Show. Thanks for filling in for the J-Man this week, Dad. Always appreciate it. Shop at our store, tanjmanshowstore.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Give us a 5-star rating if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts and on whatever platform. Subscribe, please. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully it's Josh and I next week. It'll be first time in about a month. So have a great week, everybody. See you next week.